Okay, today, guys, we have me and Danny. The Doom couple has for you the special guest, JD Temple. So, our long term friend and mentor. And, we really love JD. He is our friend. Uh, I worked with JD for like 7 years on and off. And we will just like tell some badass shit with JD here. So, welcome, JD. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing great, man. Thank you both for having me so much. I really appreciate it a lot. I really do.
I'm happy.
Me too.
Okay, so JD, can you tell us like what are you up to right now?
Well, right now, I guess I would say for like the past several months, I've been working with Belial very heavily and Lilith. And Asmodeus, I'm getting ready to start working with him again here. He's been coming in very heavily here recently. So I've been working with those spirits, and it's like Lilith, especially after this last full moon, and I would say for maybe like the last 2 to 3 months, I can feel that goddess energy coming back into our reality very heavily. And it has a lot to do with everything that's going on in this world, because I really feel like that we are in an evolutionary state that is trying to restore balance. Because in my opinion, spiritually speaking, the archetypal representation of the divine feminine has been removed on this earth in many ways. And so the as above, so below aspect is like way off kilter, and it's not balanced. And I think that our Western society and really the world has paid a big, heavy price for that. And restoring that balance is not going to be an easy thing, as we can see. But that is a big reason why I've been working with her, because I want to be a big part of that. And I feel that, a lot of people are going to be. So I've been very drawn to her. And working with Belial and Lilith at the same time can definitely cause some issues if you do not approach it in the right way. And I found that out the hard way years ago. And he really like kicked my ass and embarrassed the crap out of me. And I didn't really understand it at the time. But it boiled down to me not being a man and not doing what a man should do, especially in regards to my relationship with women. And he was like, I was being, I was like, all right, so I'm just going to use this word. I was being a big pussy. And he was like, he was like, dude, like, what are you doing? Like, she probably like dresses you and stuff, right? And I was just like, and I wasn't really getting it. Like, what's your problem, dude? Like, what are you doing here? And, you know, it was a lot of things that I wasn't doing right, like not loving myself, not standing up for myself, not being a man, not providing like I should, not being present, all of these things. And also, too, because I was failing to do that, then I was not receiving what I needed in return. And that caused me to become very agitated and very aggressive and very defensive, and caused me to act in ways that are not in alignment with who I am. And that really made me crazy for a long time. And it took me a long time to figure it out. And he pulled away from me, for many years. And my connection with him, with Belial, was like greatly diminished because of this. And I know he was there in the background, but he was really just like allowing me to go through it and going through whatever I needed to go through. And crazy relationships and all of that, where I acted like a freaking psycho and I was treated like one too in return. It was crazy on both ends. And in my current relationship, Belial and Lilith have really like saved everything. And they taught me so much. And like I almost had to like lose it all several times to really like receive the gifts that Belial was trying to give me. And like sometimes you do have to be willing to lose everything in order to gain everything. And that's really been my experience with him and with her.
Okay, Danny, do you have some questions for the guest too?
Well, JD, while you were talking, I was just sort of thinking about the spirits that have been prevalent in my life. I work, I don't know, the way I work, I guess. I never summon spirits. They always come to me, and I kind of like do the best I can to just like throw the ball back a little bit, you know. I can maybe count on one hand the amount of spirits I've actually like summoned, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But Belial, you know, he's come, he's been around, and he's wanted certain things, and it's been difficult. This year especially, I have an extremely stressful, extremely demanding job, and so it sort of limits what I can do as far as like you know, what they want from me. And then I kind of like shy away from it completely because I'm like, well, I already fucked up everything because I don't have time, and so you know they're not gonna want to, you know, they don't want anything to do with me now. But despite the fact, Belial still comes to me, even though I shy from him, like, oh, he doesn't like me. But like
He loves you very much, you know, like, you know that.
but like he came a few days ago with well, he came and I heard a word, and the word was like Yela, which I didn't know what that word was. And then he just, you know, greeted me, and then with but he also said I also heard Balzabub. So that's another spirit that I haven't been able to keep up with that like wants to work with me. So I like went to Google Translate to figure out what Yela was, and it's a Turkish word that means the high place. So kind of, yeah. So I think sometimes I mean these spirits have like a reputation that we just sort of feel, it makes us feel like we're so worthless in a way, like, oh, we can't possibly live up to, you know, but at the same time, like, they do have a vested interest in us, you know.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I think it's just important to remember too that like once you make that connection with them, they will and are willing to like meet you wherever you're at, you know.
Yeah.
And like even if you're struggling, like any kind of gesture is better than no gesture at all. And so even if you're tired and you're just wiped out, like any little thing is good, you know. So whatever you feel inclined to do, like even if it's just like a little prayer before you go to bed to like say, hey, I appreciate you and I know that you're here and like thank you. That's all it's required, you know, and they will appreciate that. You know, because like he, you know, you have to remember too that like he knows what's going on with you, like in an intimate way, like much more than you realize. And he's like there helping you and guiding you through it, but he's going to allow you to experience whatever you need to experience. And like sometimes it's going to be dark, sometimes it's going to hurt, like you know, a lot of times it's going to be dark and it's going to hurt, but like that is usually what it takes to like really get that shadow that's plaguing you out. And you know, like that's really, I think, well, a lot of them, you know, like they will be patient with that and they will help that to come to the surface, and they will, you know, guide you into like and like push you towards the things that you need to be doing to facilitate that.
And these spirits have let me know, you know, they've been like, look, like even if you're not actively doing rituals with us or whatever, they're like, we're with you when you sleep, we're with you when you eat, we're with you for all, you know, we're with you.
Yep. Absolutely.
Okay. So there is something I have to add here. So I will just give a short story because, like, I think this short story from my own goddamn life will like have a point. So my father lost like 10 horses, right? And they were like completely frozen in the snow. And those horses are like $20,000 or something, like enormous amount of money, huge amount of
Which in
money.
Montenegro is like $1 million, by the way.
Yeah, yeah, but like it's like they got frozen in the snow, and like my father is calling me, and he's like, "Figure something out, okay? Figure something out. You do this witchcraft thing. Figure something out." And so I am like, "Okay, we have $50,000 on the line. Uh, Horses will die in the matter of days. They will freeze to death, and I have to do something, right?" So I'm like, I call six spirits, and I'm like this. Look, guys, you know, $50,000 is on the line. Shit hit the fan. Please do something. If you do something, I will give you so and so offering. I will spell you the alcohol, right? And I do that, and within day and a half, somebody finds a drone for my dad in the middle of nowhere, right?
A
So
drone,
that's weird as fuck. But
a drone.
also, what happens?
In rural
He sent
Montenegro, which is like
Yeah,
Stone Age.
it's not Stone Age, dude. Don't be offensive. That's like it's like not as developed as the US, but I am saying like this. Look, so they sent drone in another direction. Drone on its own goes in the opposite direction against the commands and finds the animal. And then they bring them back and save majority of the stuff. So not only do they find the drone in the middle of nowhere, they also like direct the drone on their own to like go against the commands to find the shit. And so what? So the thing is like, I will always remember that because it's one of the most profound results I have ever had with anything. But it also means that when you don't do what you promised to do, it doesn't matter what it is. It can have really fucked up consequences. And usually, how it goes is, you know, you have bad shit hitting you out of nowhere. Like it just starts choking you and hitting you from everywhere, and you don't know what it is. And I really advise people to be cautious about what they promise. So, JD, I would really want to ask you a question here. What is like your craziest manifestation with your stuff?
Oh wow. Oh man. Well, yeah, it involves Belial. And you know, this is like this was following a 12-day ritual that he had me do, which was very easy for the most part. Like he wanted, it was 3 white candles with his sigil laid out in front of them. I had up my mantle in the basement, like above the fireplace, and he wanted those candles to remain burning. If it wasn't safe to do, then I probably would have been different. I was in a situation where it was safe for me to keep these things burning all the time. And then I offered blood onto his sigil for 12 days. After that, he came to me and he was just like, look, I want you to take your family and leave here, leave the house, go on vacation for 3 days. And I was like, okay. And it was like right near Labor Day. So it was a perfect time to do that. So we did. And when we came home, we walked in and found that our home had freaking flooded like crazy, like 3-story house, totally freaking effed. And you know, I just so happen to own a business that does that. That's what we do. We go in and we dry things. We tear things out and dry it. And so it basically, like, I was able to, in my own house, make about 50 grand taking care of my own house, doing like what I do for other people for myself. And then it was like $120,000 to remodel and fix the whole thing. And so my house was basically like totally renovated on the insurance company's dime, all because of Belial. And me listening to what he asked me to do, like, you know, leave here and don't come back for 3 days, man. And, you know, I came back to absolute devastation, but I profited from that in like a million different ways. And, you know, my home at that point in time was nice, but it was very dated and it needed a renovation terribly. And so it didn't cost me a thing for this to happen. You know, we lived in an apartment that was fully furnished, and all of that paid by the insurance company for like 8 months while everything was being restored. My company also did that too. So like, not only did I make money on restoring my own property, but I was able to enjoy the benefits of everything that came from it. It was a difficult time. That is when my marriage ended too. You know, we stayed in that apartment as a family together for 6 months. But when the home was restored to its beautiful new condition, my ex-wife and daughters moved back into it, but I never did. So I never got to enjoy it myself. But my family is, and that's important to me. So, you know, he really blessed me there with that. And, you know, like, I am eternally grateful, you know, but after that happened, he was quiet in my life for a long time. And that was really due to the fact that, like, he knew a lot of things were going to happen, you know, a lot of things that I did not know were going to happen. He warned me about it, that I was going to have to basically lose everything, start all over again. And that's what happened. And I did that. And, you know, I had his support throughout the whole entire thing. And I know that, even though he was not actually present in a sense, I know he was there. And I think that it's like certainly not a coincidence that with what's going on in my life now, that he's coming back in very strongly and like really trying to help me to get everything in order that needs to be getting in order, especially in regarding relationships. He has taught me a lot. Him and Lilith both have taught me a lot about relationships here recently. And that is helping me in my life and other people too, I feel, a lot. And I really appreciate it.
I mean,
Okay.
that sounds like he really was trying to really make you like the best man that you could be.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Like, before that, I was very immature in my approach to a lot of things. I didn't realize that, you know, but then looking back, I see it. You know, and basically, like, everything that I was getting back, especially in relationships, like, it's no surprise to me now, looking at the way that I acted. It's no surprise to me, you know, but I mean, I'm just glad that even though my family had to lose me in that way, I'm really glad that I was able to like bless them with an amazing home and environment, like, on my way out the door, you know?
Yeah, and that's really, I mean, for a man to go through that, like losing their family and having to rebuild, like that's like the kind of thing that is just so, that's a true test right there. That's like, that's
Yeah.
really,
Oh, I mean, I definitely drowned myself in drugs and anything I could do to numb out the pain. And like, that's not helpful, you know, but
yeah.
that's happens, you know, and I definitely did that. Yeah.
Yeah. You guys, I gotta pee really bad. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
Okay, so like, so I had like a really weird anecdote with Belial. I had a really good friend, and that good friend and I swore a pact with Belial together on a common project. And Belial told me, like, I am presiding over this, right? I am presiding over this. But if you show a lack of warlike character, right? If you show a lack of warriorhood, right? If you show that you will let him slide with some things he is not, I will personally like let this all go on your face, right? And so he let it happen. I will not say how it ended. You probably know the guy, right? I will not say how it ended, but it ended in a really humiliating way, which really corresponds to the things Belial corresponds for. And I don't kind of know for me, it's difficult to find a balance between being aggressive and being kind of kind, because like as soon as you are kind to people, it doesn't matter which gender they are, they kind of go on you. Like I don't have a single experience where I was really kind to people and they didn't try to exploit it. And I really struggle with the fact that, you know, whenever I am kind to people and they started behaving weird, I go in a rampage mode, you know? And
Yeah.
to me, like I was working with Abaddon, right? Yesterday, I was working with Abaddon on something really important to me. And what Abaddon really wanted to point out, like, you know that when Abaddon comes, he destroys you. Channeling Abaddon is one of the most difficult things magician can do. He's really difficult to channel. He breaks your mind, essentially. I am still recovering. Today, I am not okay because I channeled him. I am really not okay. The thing is, he was like, you need to understand what the true motivations of the people are, what people are motivated by, right? And he was like examining one person I care about and me, and he told me openly that you don't care about anything but survival. You simply want to survive. And the other thing I really want is to like cause chaos, right? So I want two things. I want to survive and I want to cause chaos. And you know, I did a lot of baneful magic in the last 3 years, enormous amount. I think I did it more in the last 3 years than some people in their entire careers. And there is a part of me which doesn't want to stop because I simply enjoy causing chaos, to tell you the truth. And it's like one of my primal motivations to simply burn shit down. I have that in myself, like to just burn shit down and to just survive and to just not care. And like, I don't know. Did you ever had that phase in your life, JD?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I just naturally cause chaos in many ways, you know, even without intending to, you
You're a
know, like a lot of
catalyst.
people do. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Like, especially like, you know, because a lot of us, all of us really, spiritual people like this, you know, we're mirrors to people, you know, we're mirrors for other people in this world. And like, they see in you typically everything that they don't like about themselves, and that makes them freaking crazy. And so that right there causes a lot of chaos. You know, one thing, you know, like I've never just, you know, have I done baneful magic before? Yes, I have, a handful of times only, maybe 5 times in 12 years. It's just not my thing anymore. I'm not saying that it won't be. And I'm not saying that I won't be myself. I'm a person that just is willy-nilly going to just jump to that. And that's just me. I'm not saying it's wrong or right or wrong. People do what they feel they need to do. And I respect that. And, you know, I think one of the biggest things that he's taught me here recently is like that boundaries are very, very important, because a lot of people just like let people in entirely way too soon before they really know what's going on. And then, you know, you've got a train ran on you the next, you know, before you even know it. And so setting boundaries is important, but also like one thing too, that I was not doing in my life was like, you know, I'm just going to call it being a man. Wasn't being a man. I wasn't standing up for myself. Like when people that were close to me did things that were not okay, I would just not want to address it. I would just hope that it was going to like fix itself some kind of way, instead of like being like, hey, dude, I am not okay with this. And that's why I'm not okay with it. When you let things just slide like that, especially when it's somebody that you're close to, that you have a good relationship with, and you let them do things that are not okay, and you don't address it, then that plants seeds of resentment that turn into a venom. It's a poison that will destroy everything. And so it's important for everybody that like, if something's happening that you're not okay with, you need to say that and you need to let them know why. And, you know, you can come from a place of love and doing it. You don't have to be a dick about it, but like, it's important that you let people know like where you stand on things and why it's important to you and why that what they're doing is not okay. And like, people will usually respect you for that. And like a lot of times too, like people aren't even really like cognizant of what they're doing to you sometimes, because here's something to remember too, is that like the spirits use people, especially the people closest to you in your life, to carry out their agendas for you. And so people are going to be used as pawns sometimes, and they're going to act weird and they're going to do things to you, but it's not to you, it's for you. And you have to like remember that and put that into perspective and see that like, okay, they're really not trying to hurt me here. They're actually trying to help me. I'm learning a lesson here. But in order to learn that lesson, I'm going to have to stand up to them in the right way and stop what they're doing. And once you do that, you learn the lesson, and like things can like be really beautiful. And like, you know, because like too, a lot of the adversaries in your life, I believe like that in many cases, you have soul contracts with these people and you decided and they decided what was going to happen in many cases before you came here. And like some of the people that are like your worst enemies are like your best friends in the spiritual realm. And you chose them to do that bullshit to you, not to you, but for you. And, you know, like they are that force against you that's like helping you to become better, right? So really at the end of the day, some of your biggest adversaries are people that you should buy a beer for and be like, thank you, dude, because of you, look at what I'm doing now. Because of the pressure you put on me, look what I'm doing now.
Maybe in the afterlife. There are some rotten people out there. But
no, there are.
They are helping. They are helping you sometimes. But there's, yeah. I mean, I'm definitely, you know, I've encountered like true evil, I would say, but it doesn't mean they weren't helping me, and it doesn't mean that they were kind of showing me that they were helping me. I mean, people have, even in the astral, they have light aspects of themselves and they have dark aspects of themselves.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. But that's true. And like, it's about waking up, right? I mean, the people that are perpetrating these like sort of insults upon us, they're usually not aware of what they're doing. You know, when people are they're acting out of trauma, and they don't even know how that they're fucking assholes. They don't even realize it.
Yeah, so many people have just been entrained to operate like that because of their trauma and all their shit. That's just kind of like what they have become. And, you know, like, that's a sad thing, but it's part of our world. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you were talking about that Lilith sort of is working with you and Belial. They're kind of like working together in a way. So for me, Abaddon, and this has been going on for quite a while. Abaddon has been like really significant in his role for quite a while for me. And he almost always comes with Lilith. Another spirit I've never I've summoned maybe one time after she came a whole bunch of times. But yeah, like just a few days ago, like Abaddon, well actually no, Abaddon's just been repeatedly coming with Lilith. So like a couple weeks ago, I just I saw an angel, and then I heard the word angel, and then I heard the word dangerous, and then Lilith came, and then Abaddon came. And so I was like, okay, I said, what spirit can help me to rid me of everything that's plaguing me physically, spiritually, mentally, all of these old ghosts that are still tormenting me. And they said, or one of them said, evidently one, Abaddon. And then a while after that, Lilith came again, and I was feeling kind of angry about the way that I'd been treated. I wasn't being respected enough, and she came and she was just her face was full of absolute wrath, and she was eating grapes at the same time. And I was like, okay, well, I remember the name of that. There's that famous book, The Grapes of Wrath, right? It's like a John Steinbeck novel that people kind of read like in literature class. Which I never read actually, but I'm familiar with that phrase, The Grapes of Wrath. So I googled that, like, where does that come from? And it's from the Bible. It's from Revelations, and it's about people that sin, being the grapes, being crushed under the feet of the winemaking, you know, like the ancient winemaking, which is when you would like step on the grapes. But yeah, so Lilith came, and then Abaddon came, and I just felt this amazing, wonderful radiance and like masculine power and protectiveness, and just that pure solar masculine, like, you know what I mean? And Abaddon was just like the wheel. Like, he just really wanted to ingrain in me like this spiritual principle of the wheel. So I sort of like Googled like the wheel in Greek mythology, and it actually is a thing in Greek mythology, and it's referred to as the Ring of Fire, and it's referenced in the punishment of one of the sort of like minor divine figures in Greek mythology. I think his name is Ixion. But like, in a general sense, the Wheel of Fire is just sort of used to refer to the consequence of negative actions. And when I told Dimitri about Abaddon coming and telling me about the significance of the wheel, you know, Dimitri was like, yeah, it's like kind of like the wheel of Dharma, which is kind of like, you know, it's like the same thing. But when Abaddon, am I talking too much?
No, please.
Okay.
So when Abaddon first came to me, it was actually before me and Dimitri became friends or anything like that. And he came with a host of spirits that were sort of a surprising mix of spirits. One of those being Methuselah from the Bible, one of those being Anu, like the Sumerian sort of celestial sky god Anu. And they told me that I have encountered Dimitri's dark astral self a lot of times, but when he first came to me, it was his light self, and his light self. Is this okay, Dimitri?
Okay, keep talking.
So his light self came to me, and his light self was crying because it missed God, and it was trying to tell me how much God meant to him. And he was so serious, and he grabbed me by the hair, and he looked deeply into my eyes, and he was like, I just want you to understand how important God is, and how much God means to me, and how much I love God. But I'm so sad because I miss him. And then it was weird because we weren't even fucking friends. Like, I hired him to help me with a channeling that I had received with Paimon that was in Arabic, but I just wanted to like confirm. So I like called him because I just didn't want to be alone, like with this like translation of Arabic. But I didn't talk to him in weeks, and then he called me right after those spirits came, and I told him about that, and I told him that Abaddon was, you know, I told him Abaddon came and all these other motherfuckers, and the god, you know, and he was just like, holy shit. But Abaddon is really he's really, I'm going to be working with him really intensely for a really long time, I think.
And I want to thank both of y'all too for that amazing group right that you just did with Abaddon that I participated in. And I had never experienced him before until that, and I am now. And I'm definitely going to be working with him too here very, very soon. As soon as everything is finalizing with what I'm doing now, that's going to be my next step. And like, I appreciate both of y'all for that, like, so much. It's really amazing.
Yeah, I can't wait to do more with you, JD.
Yeah. Yeah, both of y'all are freaking amazing. And like, you know, here is something too that I have found that like my magical practice is so much more robust and so much more powerful when I do have, you know, my divine counterpart, you know, Sarah with me doing it. And like I do feel too that it's like very important for people, for any magician, for any sorcerer, for any magical practitioner to not only be working with either male or female spirits, too. Like you need to have a balance of both because that energy is inside of all of us. And if you're only focusing on one of those things, then you're not really going to be able to receive like the fullness of the blessings and the gnosis. And really to me too, like not able to utilize like the fullness of your capabilities as well. So I do find that it's so important, and you're so blessed to have a partner with you that can do these things with you together, because like I really do feel that we're all much more powerful together than we are alone. With that,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. What does Jesus say? Like, where two or more are gathered, I am there, right?
You know it.
Like,
Yep, absolutely.
It's stronger when you are like, what she usually used to do is she like helps me in rituals, and because I do most of the heavy lifting, but my body is a little.
No.
Wait a minute. Wait. Let me finish. Let me finish.
No, Dimitri. No.
Hey, let
Yeah.
him have that.
Okay. Because I really drain myself during that. What she uses to do is she like helps me with healing and everything, and she is really good at healing. Much better than I am actually. I am not a healing guy. Like I am not a healing person. I am more like opposite to that. She is good at healing and she really replenishes me after the rites. Like she is really good at that.
Well, so talking about like the, you know, multiple people and the counterparts thing. So what's really interesting with me and Dimitri is that like, so he works a lot with the Hindu entities, which aren't so much as popular with people. There's not, I don't know, for whatever reason, but working with Hindu gods is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And so I receive a lot of Hindu entities too. This is something me and Dimitri should like do some shit about. I mean, we are doing it, but like we're gonna delve into that more. But so where he works with pretty much exclusively like the dark Hindu entities, the entities that come to me are like mind you, I knew nothing about them. I had to Google all of their names, but Surya, Hanuman, Yama is a death god. He did come. But I get a lot of the light ones and the celestial ones. And even so I will get Hindu entities coming to me that have messages for Dimitri. And I do healings with Dimitri, partly because he kind of has a bias against a lot of these sort of lighter celestial entities. He sort of doesn't like the idea of them, but he likes the idea of me. So I channel these entities and do healing on him, but he can do it himself. But he just, he, you know what I'm saying, Dimitri? Like, we can work, I think we should work with all of these Hindu guys together. I mean, I know it's leading up to that anyway.
Okay, so I need to explain something. So I honestly don't have a bias against anything, right? Like, I have nothing against people working with anything, but like my cup, look, like, here is the thing. So I really need to elaborate this in a way people can understand. Okay, imagine that somebody is accustomed to eating essentially meat, right? And that person who is eating meat all the time, he has no problem with eating meat. But you are vegetarian, JD, and you don't like meat, right? So
Oh,
if
no.
I give meat to you, you will eat meat and you will probably have some problem with your digestive system, because people who
Yeah,
don't
I
eat meat
get
for a
sick as
long
fuck.
time, yeah, people who don't eat meat for a long time will get fucked up from meat. So I use this analogy because I work with negative energy a lot. And so if I get overloaded with positive energy all of a sudden, I will have the same reaction when somebody gives you meat, JD. Okay?
Well,
Okay.
yes,
Yeah.
I have made Dimitri dry heave on occasion from doing healing work. But GD, like, what sort of celestial or lighter entities do you work with? Do you, like, what's part of? Yeah, I would love to know that.
Yeah, I mean, like for me, these are two that, it's like, I wouldn't say that I'm really working with them in a sense of like performing rituals, but these are spirits that came to me during DMT journeys. And that is like Jesus or Yeshua, and Mary Magdalene. And so like those two like have really taught me a lot. And I know that most people have that whole thing so confused and they're so like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? But for me, I get it. And I'm definitely going to be tapping into what they are going to be teaching me. And I do believe that it's going to have a lot to do with healing. It's going to have a lot to do, with that divine masculine and feminine balance and what that means when you bring those two things together in a tantric union. That does create like a holy trinity, and that does like allow you to really like manifest whatever you freaking want when you bring those two energies together in like that divine union. It's a fucking amazing, and that is like that's absolute balance right there. And that was what was stripped away from that was like the main point of his message. And that was something that was just like totally erased. And that is why like everyone has them all wrong. And that's why like Christianity is fucked, because they know what they did. Everybody knows what they did. Well, the people that know. And so, and that leads me to like a whole nother thing that, I'll either talk about or not talk about, but why I think that our world is in the state that it's in has a lot to do with this. And do you want me to talk about that?
Yeah, actually, I'm fully on board that train. I just want to add, like, I have met Jesus before, and he came to me. At first, I didn't know it was Jesus because he just sort of came to me as like a super, super average guy, like an average guy with a beard that like could work at like a coffee shop or something. But then he started talking about suffering and how suffering really is the condition of this life, and that everyone here suffers. You know, you suffer, your dog suffers. It was just like this equalizer, you know, that he was talking about the suffering.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like for sure. I mean, like that is the condition, you know, like of our world. I mean, we're definitely here to experience a lot of that.
Yeah.
And what that has to teach us. You know, and like I really feel like the state of our Western world is so screwed up because of what they did. And this is what happened. And, you know, to me, you know, so what they revealed to me through my DMT journeys when they stepped in time and time again, you know, was that like, that basically like that Mary Magdalene was a moon goddess in Egypt at this very prestigious metaphysical school, and she was able to get like a full and very robust education in these things, which is very rare for a woman in those times. And when Jesus was about like 14, he left, and that is where he went. He went to Egypt and he met her there. And he also learned all of the Egyptian mysteries, you know, like through like Mot and Ra and all of that, and like found out the truth of the resurrection and what that means, and like that the importance of the balance of the male and the female energy coming together. And they left there, they went east, they went to India, they went to a bunch of places, they learned Reiki healing and all this shit, sat with a bunch of gurus. And then when they came back, you know, they were doing this together as a couple, and like she was teaching and he was teaching, and that was his wife, you know, and they did have children. And like basically like, you know, after he was removed from this world, so was his importance of the truth of his message. And like she was a huge part of that. And in the Bible, she's reduced down to just being a common whore, when that is not what she was at all. And that's like so fucked, right? You took a moon goddess and made her a whore. Like, okay. And then so also too, so like after he's gone and they've established this bullshit religion, then they come into Rome and they say, everything that represents the goddess is to be torn the fuck down. If you worship her, you're going to be killed. And remember this, God is a man, motherfucker, and you don't forget that. And so what happens because of that? You have divine masculine and divine feminine energy. You should have that below too. But in our world, we insist upon the fact that God is a man. And you better know that, lady. And you better know that too, guy. And like, so because of what's happened with this, the way that I feel is that if you look at our world as a house, our Western world as a house, we are living in a world with a single dad that doesn't have mommy here to help him. And he's very pissed off. He's very confused. He's frustrated. And all the children are running amok because mommy's not home. And so daddy's just like, oh, shit. And everybody's killing each other. Everybody's confused. Relationships don't work. And why is that? Because to me, it's because like, if I was a woman and the world told me that God is a man, that like there is no spiritual archetypal representation of what you are, like you don't matter at all. And so what does a woman do with that? Subconsciously, I feel that it makes a woman not want to serve a man, because God's a man, fuck you. Why, you know, so like in the back of her mind, it's like, don't do that for him. Don't do that either. Don't do these good things because like you're being treated like shit spiritually. And so like it causes all this confusion because it's our issue that is spiritual in nature. And that's why nobody gets it. And like, I think that that's why you're seeing all of this weirdness in our world. There's a major imbalance spiritually. And that all started with Christianity and the removal of the goddess energy in our world. And so now she's coming back. Balance is going to be restored. Mommy is home now with daddy. So that is going to help to heal this world and bring balance. It's not going to be an easy thing. And a lot of people don't accept what I just said, and that's okay. You know, whatever, but it's true for me in my life. And I
I
Okay,
think that
so technically,
yeah.
you know, technically, this is something which I kind of agree with JD here.
Yeah.
Because if women think that God is a man, then they want to behave like man and they don't want to be woman because God is a man. And so everybody wants to be a man because God is a man. And so you have a civilization in which women are trying to be men and men are trying to be women because there are no women anymore. And so you have all
Yes.
of that confusion going
Mhm.
on. But men
Yeah.
are becoming more feminine and women are becoming more masculine, and it all doesn't make any sense. And what is really interesting to me is I'm gonna tell a story here.
Good.
So
I have to go pee again. Sorry.
okay, so I'm gonna tell a story here. So there is a legend of like Shiva having a first wife, and her name was Sati. And so Sati's father embarrasses Shiva, and Sati sacrifices herself into the fire for her husband. And her body falls at 27 different places, creating 27 different temples. And each temple is a place of power. But through sacrificing for Shiva, she reincarnates and she becomes goddess again, and she becomes Parvati, and then Parvati has all of the forms Kali, Durga, etc. So through sacrificing for her husband, she actually becomes even more divine. So she is the only deity which died and get literally resurrected, not as one god, but as a bunch of the gods. So it really, this story is really useful because, you know, originally, you know, in Hindu mythology, Shiva is either ascetic or a destructive force. And then he needs Parvati to kind of tame him to kind of become a useful god, in a sense, kind of more benevolent individual, which is more understandable for people. And this is really like the essence of femininity, softening things and making them beautiful and nurturing them. Like,
Oh yes.
here is the thing. There is a baby in my house right now, and I really am not good at taking care of babies. Like, if you give babies to guys, most of them would just like smash them on the wall, smash them to the wall, you know? Like,
I
we are
what?
not good. We are not good at taking care of
Yes,
babies at all.
I agree.
It's like what women are better at. Like, we are terrible at taking care of babies.
And really, that's what we want from them too, by and large. You know, like I want to be nurtured and cared for and loved on, just like I'm a baby. A lot of times, you know, and like I need that. I need to like come home to that warm embrace and that gentleness and that non-chaotic environment, and like for her not to be aggressive and not to be wearing male energy, you know.
So,
Because when she does that, we're just butting heads like rams and we're not getting nowhere.
so I have something to add to this. So I think everyone misses the female energy. Everybody misses the softness and the beauty and the just the goldenness of that, and like it's not so much because women are confused about their role or men are confused about the role. It's because everyone is confused because we live in such a technocratic, industrialized, mechanized society that nobody knows what the fuck, who the fuck they are, what the fuck they're doing. I mean, everybody is completely cut off. It's so unnatural.
Mm-hmm.
And you have feminine energy, you have masculine energy, you have women that are feminine, you have women that are masculine, you have men that are masculine, you have men that are feminine, but no one can really figure out what they are, the way that things are working right now. No one is in sync.
Yeah, it's very difficult. And you know, there's one thing I wanted to mention too that you were saying a minute ago, Dimitri, about the 27 temples. And like to me, like something that I was told by Lilith a long time ago was that like basically that like the number 9 represents the goddess and her energy, and that like so if you add 27 together in numerology, that would be 9, and that would be the significance of the goddess. And to me, that is also what 666 means. Like that is really to me what the left-hand path is really all about, is bringing a balance between the divine feminine and the divine masculine, because 666 equals 18 and 1 + 8 = 9. So there's your goddess right there. And so like that is really kind of like the underlying hidden aspect in it all, is that like that's important. That is important. You don't see that importance in our Western society and the other religions. You know, they do have that in the East, and their lives aren't perfect, but they're much more balanced, I feel, because they do acknowledge and accept the fact that there is divine feminine archetypal essence in their lives, and they allow it. And that is a beautiful thing. And that's something that we are very against, at least most of our society is against, because God's a man, and it's no there, then that's like the end of the story, So like, it's just, I don't know. It's crazy. And I think that we're going to get it. We're going to get it, but it's certainly going to take a long time for it to like fully acclimate and balance out. Kind of like what we were talking about the other night, Dimitri. It's probably going to be a 20-year process. But like I think in the next 3 years, we're going to definitely see like a huge evolution and a huge impact that this is going to have. A lot of it's going to be seemingly negative, because the tower always has to fall, and that will happen. And it's happening now everywhere and all over the world. And her energy coming back in is literally causing cataclysms, and it is not to be ignored. I mean, you can't ignore it.
Okay, so JD, like I have some story which I think a story and also a question, right? So just let me like explain for a second. So indeed, like there is something really interesting which a lot of people don't talk about in like Western left-hand path discourse, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is they never talk about what actually Hindu left-hand path guys do. So what they really do is they use negative energy, really malignant energy, to connect with the Brahman or the source, right? So they are kind of teaching me meditations, and this is like difficult as fuck. I am not recommending this to everyone. Don't try this at home, motherfucker. So there is literally a realm which is known as Tuduyantala, right? Which is literally called the realm of emptiness, right? And that is essentially a spiritual emotional state in which you are completely empty and depressed, and you want to kill yourself, right? So they are literally teaching me how to work with that portal, with that energy, to go into alternate state of consciousness and merge with the source. To the feeling of
that's a real thing too.
yeah.
That's a real
And
thing.
like they do that with they teach you to do that with anger, they teach you to do that with hate, they teach you to do that with anguish, with lust, with pride, with fear, with all of those emotions. And like you tap into the emotion, and you literally push the emotion into your energy centers, and you have an enlightening experience of the same nature somebody would like have from love. And then it completely evaporates or makes absurd the distinction between light and dark. Because like I push hatred into my chakras and they open, I push love into my chakras and they open. They open from the both emotions in the same way. Now, I really wanted to ask you something. So what is your approach to working with the Kundalini? Because I heard a lot of different stories about Kundalini.
Like for me, like if I'm wanting to raise that and I want to intentionally raise it, then I am certainly going to purify myself through, you can just leave them there. Cool.
I'm sorry, my butt. Okay, cool. Sorry. All right. So, I will certainly like begin a fast, and also, to purify myself, to make sure that I am not grounded, because, when you're consuming a lot of food, you're extremely grounded, and it makes it very hard to access higher realms and to allow that Kundalini to raise. Also, I'm going to be not climaxing in any kind of way. That is not going to happen, because at least for 30 days, because I want to experience what will happen every single month, that people can take advantage of this 12 times a year, when that sweet spot, and from what I understand, it's like when your sun sign aligns with the moon in that month, if you have not climaxed, then what's going to happen is your Kundalini is going to rise. It's going to go all the way up into your brain. You're going to release DMT, and magical things happen. And so that is brought on for me by abstinence, by fasting. Those two things really are, and then once I have done those things and I have prepared myself, then it's going to be a case of like, either with my partner or alone, laying in a comfortable place, listening to music that I like, creating a nice sacred environment, and then laying there in my own energy, raising that tantric energy, and really going into like a deep breath work. And that right there for me is like kind of is like the catalyst for raising that energy. And also not eating any meat. Like for me, like if I was eating flesh, that stops it in its tracks right there, because then you're grounded as fuck. You're so grounded that like it just makes it almost impossible for me to do anything. When I was operating like that, my body just didn't respond to these things appropriately if I was putting the wrong things inside of myself.
Yeah, the Hindu entities, they really don't like meat too much. I've really lost my appetite for meat since I've been working with them. Yeah.
Because this is the thing that I found with meat too, at least for me. And I think that like most people have this situation, but they just don't realize it at all because they're so entrained into their Western diet. Is that like when you eat meat, your system has a very, very hard time processing it, especially if you don't chew your food good, which most people do not. They eat very fast and they're only halfway chewing things. So you've got an overloaded system with all this meat in it that's going to really literally be in there for like 3 or 4 days. And anything else you put in there after you've done that is just trapped. And so it can't go anywhere. It can't move. So what does it do? It starts to get into your body and it stays there, and you become bloated. You become tired. You become weighed down. You become depressed. You become imbalanced emotionally. You're on a roller coaster because nothing in your body's moving. You basically like are creating a prison inside of yourself that is tormenting you, and it tormented me anyways. And so when I removed that from the equation, everything just flows through me now very quickly, very, like all of these toxins and poisons that used to hang out and just absorb into me, it just gets passed through all the time. And so and in doing that too, and with all the other things that I'm doing, it just makes this an easy, natural transition. It's not a hard thing. I don't struggle with it. Most people in the Western world, they're constipated as fuck all the time. They probably only go to the bathroom once every 3 days, and they wonder why they feel crazy and they are not they're not in the condition they want to be in. And that is really, to me, that's why. And I see it everywhere I look. And, people are like miserable and they don't feel good. And it's like, I can tell you why, you ain't going to want to, you ain't gonna like my answer, and you're not probably going to want to do it. But if you do, and you do it for 30 days, you'll see, and you'll never look back.
Yeah. And for anyone that is like completely vegetarian, like a totally no meat, no animal product diet, it's got to supplement B12, because we did evolve. The the reason our brains are so big is because we ate animal protein, and we do need vitamin B12 to sustain ourselves. So
that's funny you say that, because I have that like tincture and I put it under my tongue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So, okay, I kind of want to give my insight on eating meat too. So I tried being like a vegetarian, hardcore vegetarian for like 14 days, like really hardcore vegetarian fasting. And like I wanna like agree with you guys, but I also wanna disagree because I agree with you in certain aspects of what you said, but I also kind of disagree, and I think it would be interesting to kind of discuss this. So I think the notion that you have to be vegetarian in order to be spiritual is really limited, because people kind of don't. Okay, I kind of disagree with you. I agree, but I also disagree. There are positive entities like positive form of Kali, positive form of Shiva, positive form of Vishnu, like positive spirits, positive energies, which demand vegetarianism, right? But there are also energies and spirits which demand you to eat meat, sometimes even to eat meat from corpses, and drink shit like urine and drink alcohol. And it's also a part of spiritual elevation. So you, JD, are person which kind of works with darker energies, but even when you work with darker energies, you don't work with them to massacre people. You
No.
work with them in a more benevolent form. And
Yeah.
so for you, vegetarianism helps. But for me, when I went vegetarian to do a form of Arabic Sufic path working with spirits who demanded it, I felt like shit. Okay? I really felt like shit. My system was really, I wasn't myself. I didn't have my strength. I gonna say this, but like even my erections were like weird. I didn't get it up. I was really depressed. I was really out of energy, and I couldn't connect through my anger to the things I have to do. And so I agree, for a lot of people who resonate with that, vegetarianism is the way to go. But if you want to kill me, you make me vegetarian and I will mummify in like 60 days. Like my system doesn't get that.
I don't think you have to be vegetarian to be spiritual. Like that's crazy talk. But being vegetarian for achieving a certain type of gnosis and a certain type of vibration thing too.
I would say that if I was wanting to be aggressive and curse someone, if I was going to do that, I would definitely eat some meat before I do it. And that was one of the things that the spirit shared with me too, like maybe a year ago. And he was like, if you want to tap into your intuition and you want to like access those higher planes, then don't eat some meat for a while. But if you want to like go after someone and you want to be a monster and an animal, then yeah, that will help you and assist you with doing that. And I think too, something to keep in mind is that, like, I'm sure where you're from, Dimitri, like the source of your meat is probably not the same as the source of like our meat that we get in the States. That we get
Yeah,
is treated like shit. It's caged up, it's tormented, and it's slaughtered and killed like a crazy fuck. Where you come from, it's probably not that way. And so you're getting a more natural type of flesh that has not been subjected to the bullshit that most of what we eat is. And so, like, I feel that, like, there was at one time on this earth a covenant between the animals and man that made it acceptable and okay to do this. But with what we've done in the West, the way that we treat the animals now and what we do to them, to me, that covenant is null and void. And like the animals know that, and they're kind of pissed off at the way that we're treating them, like, because we do treat them like they're prisoners in a concentration camp, basically. And for me, if I ever do eat meat again, it's definitely not going to come from nothing like that. And I don't even eat eggs that come from shit like that. I get my eggs from a local farmer. It's a whole different experience. different thing. Like, it basically, like, when I eat that, it tastes like I remember it tasting back in 1985. Everything else now, I don't know what the fuck's going on with it, but it ain't what it used to be. That's for sure. It ain't food anymore. A lot of it.
Danny, so like, what do you think about, spiritual implications of food and shit like that?
I think that they're real, and if you really want to be mindful of, it's like Lakshmi, when Lakshmi came, she was really pressing, I was asking her, so she came and I was like, so what can I do to be more prosperous? What can I do to have more beauty and luxury and prosperity in my life? And what she highlighted was that the evil eye, which I'd never really taken into that much serious consideration, was a real thing. And that the negative energy that's generated just by people every day can really fuck up your, not just your prosperity, but it can fuck up your everything, And so in that same vein, like if you're consuming animals that are being treated in a horrible way, and at the level of your soul that you're not into that, you're actually not into mammals being treated like that. Like you're at a soul level, that hurts you, and you're consuming that. There's a discrepancy there, right?
And I think everything, to me, so anytime you do for that.
Hey JD, you're a little bit. We're getting some interference connection.
Sorry, can you hear me better now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I was saying is that, like, basically that your conscience is the authentic voice of God. And so when you do anything in life that goes against your conscience, then you're going to pay the price for it. And so I am very particular about the things that I do. And if it is something that goes against my conscience that I'm going to regret, that I'm going to feel shameful for, that I'm going to be operating in a way that is not in alignment with who I am, then that is going against my conscience. Therefore, it is going against the authentic voice of God. And that is something that I respect and I'm mindful of, and I operate in accordance with.
Yeah. And I had a horrible dream the other night about a cow, and I took the eye from the cow and I devoured the eye from the cow, and then the cow died, and it was so sad. And it was, I think it was just really a transmission from like the Hindu entities that I work with. Even though I have been avoiding red meat since then, I really have been. It's just, there's, of course, why wouldn't there be a spiritual element to all of it? I mean, it would be weird if there wasn't.
Yeah. I mean, I think, a lot, and certainly too, like, everyone is different. Certain people are more sensitive than other people, that kind of thing. And like, for me, like, I'm a person that has been diagnosed with mental illness, like bipolar depression, amongst other things. And for the longest time in my life, I was always an emotional wreck. I could never be balanced. Everything was chaotic. Life was crazy. And I was almost like unbearable to be around for most people. And so it made me just have to like isolate all the time, because I just brought chaos, just because I couldn't balance myself out and like tolerate being around people. They couldn't tolerate being around me. And, I went on antidepressants and all stuff that was helping, making it worse. And so I wouldn't do that. I refused that shit and continued to spiral down out of control. And it wasn't until I made these changes right here that I realized that, like, holy crap, my entire problem, my whole entire life, the food me, the food was making me absolutely insane. And I think that, like, very sensitive people like that really affected by more than people.
Yeah.
Whatever. But like for me, I know for sure because like through everything that I've been through and trying that, none of that working. And have sort of balance with state abilities. Like I got to the point where I couldn't even talk right anymore. Like I got to the point where like I had lost my connection with my robust vocabulary. So I was always like feeling tongue tied and feeling lost. And like where the words used to come to me, they didn't more. I'm not even going to be able to do this anymore because I can't even talk anymore. I can't even like express myself and like elaborate eloquently. I sound like a fucking idiot, you know, and like all of that stuff was coming from the poison in the food. Once I eliminated that, everything is so much clearer, so much stable. Another thing too, animals respond different. They used to look at me and be very like, you know, because I do feel that like most animals, especially your pets, when you eat meat like that, they see you as a predator and they know you're a predator. And so they're like, but when you're not a predator, they know that too. And they're like, oh, come over here. Let me love you. Blah, 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 you know, and like they feel that. They feel it in your aura. And so for me, it's just it's a special sacred thing. And I like that connection with animals. I like that connection with people. I like who I am much, much more in this world when I'm not doing that. And, you know, I'm not saying that it's right for everyone, but I just found that it's right for me in so many ways.
Yeah. JD, have you ever worked with any Hindu entities before?
Very interested in Ganesh. Like he
We lost him.
trying is also that entity. That like in the place that I am here now in our store, which is also like a retreat center, that is going to be, he's going to like, that spirit's going to be highlighted here, and there's going to be an altar, and I'm excited about that, and that's but it's not something that I have delved into very much yet.
I see you have an evil eye in back of you, and yeah, Hindu culture is very much they're very much they take the evil eye very seriously. And Ganesh is Ganesh is really big on fighting evil eye, as well as Lakshmi, Hanuman. Yeah.
Because, you know, especially people like us that are putting ourselves out here like this, it's like so much, and because you're going to have that. And like in my own personal life, I don't want to get too personal, but there was situations of, you know, people that are close to me because of my relationship that like were hating me from 2,500 miles away.
Dude,
every fucking day.
Crazy. I can't
It
believe
hurts.
you're such a nice guy. Like, I can't believe that shit happened to you.
Well, I'm not always a nice guy, you know. So like a lot of it is deserved, but most of it is confused. And so like, you know, do I deserve some of it? Yes. Was most of it a result of things that I was experiencing and I was reacting to it? Yes. Did I react appropriately? No. I reacted in a way that most men would. Is it right? No, it's not right. Is it what you would expect? And is it, yeah? I'm like, yeah, it is. But like, I know how much that crap hurts and how much it affects a person. And I had to be like, look, this has got to get smoothed out because I can feel that hate from 2,500 miles away, all of them together that are projecting that shit at me. I feel it. And I either have to just be like, look, I don't give a fuck about them. They can feel however they want to. I'm not going to invest my time and energy in them anymore, period. And they'll be willing to make an with me and stop what I'm attempting to do here. If it doesn't work, then I'll just protect myself and close that door from that forever, because I know what it does to me, and it's not okay, and it's not good at all. And so, yeah, that evil eye shit is, and that jealousy, and you know, when people project that psychic energy at you, this is another thing that I've realized about that too, that like, especially with famous people, if you have enough people that believe a certain thing about an individual and they project that energy at them enough, they can actually cause a Mandela effect in this world to where what they are accusing that person of doing will actually become true and
Well, yeah,
can actually be made guilty.
like super crazy people die in these crazy ways. I mean, like Princess Di or JFK Jr. or, you know, it's like there's like a weird thing with that, you know.
It is, man. And like, you know, there's people right manipulating reality to create never existed in the first place. It's free and safe from that. And like, you know, is the Matrix a real thing? Yes. And that is why you see all it interjected energy, false beliefs. And like, that is why too, that I believe that like lies are so powerful in this world, because basically in this matrix, we glorify lies. And so, you know, there's so many lies that are wrapped up in pretty little bows in this world that like, that is like the underlying in this. So like, when you live in a world where it's glorified and it's possible, especially lies, and like it actually taking that lie and making it true, and like that is like so sick. And so you see this in our reality too with like music and songs and stuff, where people will take a really fucked up message and up in a beautiful melody people will be bebopping along to and dancing and loving and shit. Yeah. And they don't even know what the words mean. They don't even know what it means. True. And they're, you know.
That is so true.
Your subconscious mind never words. It's going right in there, and it's affecting you and how you operate. Don't you? It means you can assign your own meaning to it, but like conscious mind knows exactly what it's saying. And so when you take something that is like an evil, fucked up, hurtful message and you wrap it up in a beautiful melody, that is a weapon.
Yeah.
That is like infects people's minds.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm like pretty old. I'm like close. I'm like about the same age as you. And I remember when I was like coming up, Dr. Octagon was like all the rage. And everywhere I went, people were playing Dr. Octagon. And there was this song, and the chorus was "Girls Are Material." And it was when society was sort of going into really, I mean, it was sort of like when like early Howard Stern was like a big thing, you know, like
yeah.
all that, you know, it was like, and it was like I was just thrown to the wolves. There was no decorum, there was no chivalry, there was no nothing. It was just like, and everywhere I went, song was playing that was like girls are material, and I just like, it didn't lead to good things. I mean, that programming led me into situations that were really, really fucked up. I'm
going to give you an example right now of a very popular song that women and men love, especially women love. And if you're familiar with this song, it's called Desire by Meg Myers. And it's one of the most beautiful melodies that I've ever heard. And my girlfriend loves it. And she has assigned a whole different meaning to this song. But I want to read you the lyrics real quick, and you tell me if it's safe. It says, baby, I want to breathe into your well. See, I got to hunt you. I'm going to bring you to my hell. Baby, I want to fuck you. I want to feel you in my bones. Boy, I'm going to love you. I'm going to tear into your soul. Desire, I'm hungry. I hope you feed me. How do you want me? How do you want me? Then it goes into, honey, I want to throw you to the hounds. Yeah, I got to hurt you. I got to hear it from your mouth. Boy, I want to taste you. I want to skin you with my tongue. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to lay you in the ground. Right? So if you have a woman listening to that song enough, it's getting in her subconscious mind. How you think she's going to treat you? Like shit? You know?
Yeah, but
that's
like honestly, I don't think it's to me the rhythm is more dangerous than the text, because the rhythm of the modern techno music and of some of the rock songs is scientifically proven to damage neurological patterns in the brain, and animals negatively react to it. So regarding the text, I don't know, it can be interpreted in many different ways, and I have my own theory on why shit happened the way they do. But in general, what I think is that really, if we are magicians, if we are practitioners, if we are spiritual people, we can go beyond that programming pretty quickly. I mean, once you go into those trance states, you essentially pretty quickly learn how to work with those
There's
things.
like so many people that are unconscious though, that they become prisoners to that shit. They fall victim to it, and their subconscious mind is picking up on everything that it's saying. And so it's not a logical conscious thought type of thing. Like logically, I know that it's just a song, right? It's just a song, in the same way that a commercial is just a commercial, in the same way that like that, you know, the news is just news. But like, is it though? No, it's all has an agenda. It all programs your mind, and it all affects how you operate and how you treat people and how you see the world. And you don't even know it. You know, most of us don't even know it because it's everywhere. It's coming in all the time from all over the place. And like these crafty people, they know what they're doing. You know, like it's not, a lot of things in this world that present themselves to be safe and innocent are not safe and innocent at all. They're wolves in sheep clothing in so many ways. And like, you know, being, you know, like those kind of things, like the song that I just mentioned, has the ability to go right past the gatekeeper of your mind, right into your subconscious, and you don't even know it. We're not even aware of it. And so when you, that's a dangerous thing to me.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
yeah.
Something that has the ability to right past your gatekeeper without even knowing it, like that's
So there's technological factors involved with that now as well. With some of these techno songs, there are subliminal messages, and like when I worked at the EMP Museum in Seattle, we would have like I worked for Wolfgang Puck, and we would do like catering events. This was like a long time ago, but I remember like being at some of these events and like going all night with the unts. And then I would come home and it would sort of be stuck in my head.
Yeah.
But then it would be like there was actually advertisements embedded subliminal advertisements embedded, and it would be like, buy this video game, you know, like I didn't even play video games, but it was like embedded.
Right. And so like you start to get these like weird attractions to like weird things and like things that may not even like resonate with you in your life, and you're like, why am I all of a sudden feeling the urge to do this and to do that? Like, oh, I wonder why.
Yeah,
you know,
it wasn't even an urge. It was like an audible. It was just like an audible. It's just like when you're listening to loud music all night and it repeats, but it was repeating, but it had the like embedded audio.
It's a lot. Like, you know, it's a lot like that 80s movie They Live, you know, to where like once you can like see through the veil of like reality of what's being presented to you, then you see that like everything that's being presented is not what it is, and it is actually like a totally different message than what it's actually presenting itself to be. And like that is the world that we live in now. Absolutely, it's just like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. It's really crazy. And so like I think it's just something that like we all need to be mindful of. And like I'm not saying to stay away from everything, I'm just saying to like, for me, anything that I'm gonna like really listen to a lot and that I'm going to really enjoy listening to, like I want to know what it's saying actually. You know, it doesn't matter to me what I think it says or what I think it means, because like I said before, my subconscious mind knows exactly what it's saying. And there's certain things that I'm just not going to subject my subconscious mind to.
But honestly, like we talked about it yesterday, JD. Like you are altruistic individual, you want to save everybody. But the reason the reason world is fucked, we talked about it yesterday, is because people are fucking cowards. Okay?
Yeah.
You know, here is the thing. Like how many men you know is capable of cursing somebody and making them get hurt, or shooting at somebody, or beating somebody up? Like the men who you know are capable of doing that are maybe 10 to 15%. 85% are like people who are like incapable of slapping somebody in the face, literally. And as long as we live in a society like that, it will be fucked, because every single bullshit will pass by. You know, we recently like had a debate about like transgenders dressing in women's, you know, areas. Like here is the thing: if that guy was in the same area changing and as my sister, he would be beaten up. Like I wouldn't have a discussion about it at all. Like the guy would be beaten up. You cannot let a guy with a dick changing near a naked woman. It's simply not something you should allow. Like it's not a discussion. You beat the guy up. Like it's not something
You
you
know,
discuss.
so Dimitri, I think that this is very like dumb territory, like to talk about, because like it's just
I don't care. I don't care.
it's like
I understand. And I know, like I see both sides of it, and you know, I have my own opinions of that stuff too, and a lot of it is I struggle with. You know, personally, I struggle with that. You know, of how I really feel about it. Yeah, you know, and yeah, I mean, it definitely, you know, we live in a world where, you know, especially with that like you better not say anything about how you actually feel. So I won't.
well,
you know, but
with trans people, I mean, like I like people, like there's people, like there's straight people I like and I don't like, there's gay people I like and I don't like, there's trans people I like and I don't like, but it never comes down to the fact that they're this or that. Like never.
Here is the thing. Here is the
But
thing.
let me finish what I was saying. So one thing I can really relate to trans people with is that is body dysmorphia, because a lot of women have a lot of pressure to look a certain way and to be physically perfect, and it consumes their lives. It consumes their lives in a lot of ways. And trans people suffer that kind of dysphoria you know, to like a magnified degree. You know, I know that, and it's not like they're making it up. I know that they are suffering that dysphoria, and they have really high rates of depression and suicide. Do I like every trans person? No. Like I find obnoxious people in every echelon in every corner of society.
But like, here is the thing. I think you two guys kind of misunderstood what I needed to say. I have trans friends, right? And I have nothing against you like dressing as a girl and feeling as a girl and being a girl if you want to be a girl. I don't care what you want to be, honestly. But like, you have to agree, guys, that honestly, if you are a female, if I told my sister that she had to change her clothes together with somebody who has a male sexual organ, it would be like super uncomfortable for her and also for a majority of the women I know, you know.
I don't
And
even
so
understand what you. I don't even know what you
and
just.
I mean,
and
I agree with what you're saying there. I mean, I don't think that that is okay or right. You know,
yeah,
like they they they,
my
they, should, they should not have a green car, a green light to just be able to like be in that environment with other, you know, especially
yeah,
like
and
that are not of age. You know,
uh,
because like I can't go in there and just do that, can I? No. And would it be right? No. And like they shouldn't either, in my opinion. Not in
yeah,
that situation. You know, if it's an
and like
adult thing, if they're adults, then like that's different. But when you're talking about kids, you're talking about adolescents, you're talking about teenagers, yeah, that's a little different to me.
I don't know, you guys. Like when it comes to men's issues, when it comes to women's issues, when it comes to trans issues, I feel like it doesn't really fucking matter. Like it doesn't really fucking ultimately doesn't really fucking matter like what you guys have to say about trans issues because you're not trans. It doesn't matter what I have to say about men's issues because I'm not a man. Like it's like you can waste you can waste your breath all day long on this shit, but if you're not part of that group, like what the fuck does it matter? You know what I mean? Like every group has the right to speak for themselves.
But honestly, like, I don't know. You are correct unless they force me to do something I don't want to do. Like, they are free. Everybody is free. Look, for example, in France here, they forced everybody to get vaccinated. It was a big thing, right? And I didn't take a single shot for the entire Corona period, right? And I am not planning to take a shot because it's my choice not to take a shot, and I don't see a reason why would I. And there is no statistical evidence enough to convince me that I would, and I am allowed to have my own autonomy. And you know, if they force me to take a shot, I am not taking a shot. I am not letting them put something in my body which I don't know what it is, and it's not tested enough, and it is really quickly made and there are a lot of controversies around it. I will not do it. And there is nothing you can do to make me do it. I am
I
not
think
anti.
okay. I think politics are stupid. B, spirits told me about the coronavirus that they told me about the epidemic 5 years before. They told me that it was going to be very similar to tuberculosis, and there would be a lot of weeping and a lot of funerals. When I got that message, I was pretty alarmed and scared by it. I didn't really exactly know what it meant. When I came back, so the coronavirus actually started. The first death was in Seattle, in the American continent. It was in Seattle. I was in California, like growing weed, and but I had my dog here. I had my van here, and when I saw that the first death had happened, I was like, holy fucking shit, I need to get back home because the shit's getting out of hand. So I came home. I had actually talked about before the epidemic spread to the US or anywhere else. I talked to my mom's boyfriend, who is a lung doctor, and he actually works in vaccine development and the study of lung disease. So he knew a lot about tuberculosis. Actually, he's done a lot of experiments about the transmission of tuberculosis. So when Corona, I knew would inevitably come here, I just asked him like what would be good protection before the media, liberal media, right-wing media, left media, whatever. And he said that basically a N95 mask would be the best protection. So when I came home from California, I had on an N95 mask, which I had for the work that I did. I was like the only person on the plane wearing one. When my mom picked me up from the airport, she was making fun of me. And then about 3 days later, everything completely shut down. Everybody was wearing masks. But it's like politics are stupid. Like my mom's boyfriend was a total liberal guy. But he just happened to be like a lung doctor and like a scientist. And because he was advocating for certain things, like because like fluorescent lights will actually kill the virus. So he was advocating for the installation of fluorescent lights in businesses to keep businesses open. There was another doctor and scientist who was trying to copyright fluorescent lights and sell them to make a profit. And so he spread the rumor to all these liberal media outlets that fluorescent lights were an invention of right-wing media and that they were bullshit. And so like it's like the politics just fuck everything up. They fuck everything up.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, just like money does, and like you can always follow the money to like really see the truth and everything. And it usually boils down to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but regarding like predicting the coronavirus, I actually have a video documenting that Lilith helped me predict the virus, and you can find it on the channel. And it's still one of the like most it's still one of the things I am kind of mostly proud of myself for. And it was literally like the plague is coming, be ready, and then Corona was like pretty quickly to that period, you know?
And I think
Like,
it's important that you do say things like that when you do receive those messages. A lot of people will say that you're fear mongering and that you're trying to scare people. And why would you even do that? Because you're just scaring people. But it's those same people so like basically like the plight is this. It's like when you say the storm is coming, no one will listen. And they'll say, what are you doing? You're being a fear mongerer. But then once the storm hits, they say, why didn't you tell me? So like when you get these psychic, these psychic, like messages like that, I feel that it is important to share it because, like people will be able to prepare themselves for what's coming if you do. And if you don't, they won't. And then they're going to be like, well, why didn't anybody say anything? And so like, it's like a double-edged sword type of thing. And that's where I find myself in all of this. Because I hear everyone all the time, you're just scaring people to death. And that's the only reason they watch you, because you're a fear mongerer and you're just scaring them. And they don't know what to do now because you're scaring them to death. And it's like, no, dude, I'm just telling them what I see coming, and they can do what they want to do with that. And if they want to plan accordingly to like protect themselves, great. And that's the only thing it's about. It's not about trying to scare people.
Yeah. And prophecy is such a strange thing because it's like you get these predictions that are on this like massive scale, this massive world scale. And it's like, what do you do with that? It's like, what am I supposed to fucking do? Who the fuck am I? Like, when the skirmish broke out with Ukraine, in the first weeks of that, and nobody thought anything was going to really happen with that. a spirit came to me. They said that battle was inevitable, and then within 48 hours, it was there was the first missile strike from Russia into Ukraine. And they also said that microwaves, well, they said microwaves, but what I was inferred from that was microwave weapons, which haven't really been a hallmark of any of our past wars. And from that, I was like, okay, I guess maybe this war that will be a hallmark.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of crazy things from this for sure. Things that we've never seen before being used.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
yeah, but like
Yes,
what I really
technology's advanced since like the last shit.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm a firm believer. I'm a firm believer that most countries possess technology that is at least 100 years advanced from what we know in our public society.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a really scary thing. Like, holy crap! Like, what do you really have? Like, some crazy shit, you know? Like, you know, like, what is CERN really doing? Some crazy shit. And like, what is that creating? I don't know, but it's pretty weird, you know? And like, that's some very advanced type shit right there that like we still don't totally understand, and the truth of it may never totally come out, but there's a lot of things like that in this world that are like highly, highly advanced. And we think that it's only as advanced as this phone right here. Like, no, it's way ahead of the time.
Yeah. Have you ever seen UFOs before?
Yeah, definitely. Quite a few times down in Florida. When I was at Soul Quest, I saw a few, which is very common. From what I understand, people see a lot of those down there. I mean, I've seen a lot of crazy things for sure. You know, like I work with an extraterrestrial entity named Baruch that that I connected to in Utah in a cave, back in 2016 or something, and he is like really freaking amazing, and like I work with him just like I would work with like a demonic entity. It's like it's pretty weird, but he's definitely not that, but it's very similar, which I find interesting.
Interesting. Go ahead, Dimitri.
So technically, there is something I wanted to say in your support, JD. So I made a separate video about like what I got from Abaddon, what kind of insight about the future which like correlates to yours. And I really want to say that your insight about the future you are getting is pretty much what I am getting, and you have my full support. And people who think you are fear mongering are like simply either not getting it or not understanding it. There is a lot of data, I think scientific data as well as spiritual experience, which suggests that the world we know will going to end. I am not saying humanity will end anything like that. There will be no mass extinction, but the order of things we knew will end. And the world our children will live in and we will grow old in will be really, really different from the world we are born in. Much different because world we inherited is pretty much similar to what our parents experienced. You know, you had some fucker doing some job and shit, you know, and he's getting a salary, and you have countries, and those countries in the Western world are relatively stable. All of that is gone. You know, all of that is gone. All of that is over. And I have talked to a lot of spirits to show me the vision of the future, and I have seen something which really terrified me, especially when I worked with Lucifer. But the end of that will be pretty much that our civilization will collapse and the nature will take over. And humanity will restart in some form of a new way. It will be something similar to what happened after the fall of the Western Roman Empire, where you had enormous cities which were pretty much abandoned overnight because empire fell apart. And so there was no infrastructure and people just moved from the cities, and then you have 500 years of no fucking writing, you know? Like people discovered writing, they needed 500 years to do that. So it really, and what is really sad, what really saddens me is that instead of trying to save this civilization, instead of trying to save everything we inherited, you know, all of those beautiful things, you have people talking about fucking Kanye West because he is batshit crazy and bipolar. I mean, I am sorry for Kanye. I am sorry for Kanye,
Well,
you know?
that's so the fall doesn't have to necessarily be some you know, apocalyptic naturalistic event. I mean, we are in the fall. That is part of the fall, is what you're talking about.
Yeah, but like I really want, look, I really want like my brother's son to grow up in a world where everything is not post chaotic nuclear wasteland. But it seems that we are going to shit. And I really want like my children and their children to live in a world which is like much better than the world I am born in, you know? Like, and I really don't like where the things are going. And when the JD points the same thing, when JD points that, are you there, JD?
I'm here. Yeah, I'm right here.
I can I ask you a question? Like, what we can do, what rituals we can do? Because you did rituals to change things, right? So can you explain
Yeah.
what you did?
Well, I mean, one thing that I'm doing is, one thing that I did with Belial, with Poseidon, is that I went to Virginia Beach and I did a ritual with him and anointed that effigy, that it's like a 20 or 30 foot tall effigy of him. It's like right there on the ocean. I anointed that with blood and asked him for the protection for all, not just for our nation, but for all nations, but basically specifically the United States, because that's where I live. And to protect us and to help to get us through these difficult times. I'm also going to Washington, D.C. Sunday, so what's in 2 days. I'm going to be doing the same thing there. I'm going to be anointing the Washington Monument and activating its power with my blood and ritual with Asmodeus. A few other monuments as well, because all of those things are very, very magical. They possess great power, and I do believe that they are positioned in such a way that they do help to protect us. And so that is something that I'm also spiritually activating. And that's something that I believe will help in all of this. And I recommend that everyone do that where you live. Like, find out where these monoliths are, find out where these ancient structures or these magically imbued structures are, and like go and activate those with your blood, and whatever spirit calls to you that wants to be a part of that, include that too. Because like I do believe that like all of those things, like the Easter Island heads and like all these huge monoliths, the pyramids, all that stuff, like it's all living, it all has a living spirit, and like it's all doing very, very profound spiritual things. And like I believe that there could come a day where like literally like a lot of these statues will like literally come alive, and they will be walking around on this earth and like actually doing certain things, and people will see that. And like like dragons and shit like that are real, and you're gonna see that shit too, and it's gonna be like, what the fuck? But like I do believe we're gonna see that shit in our reality at some point. Like everything that you see in movies is actually reality, and when people see that happen, their minds are gonna be fucking blown.
I do think that the DC area and all that stuff is like very, very potent. I've only been out that way one time, but I still dream about it. I still am drawn to it as a sort of a talisman.
Yeah, I mean it's all, I mean the way that it's constructed, the layout, everything is very, very particular, and it's for a fucking reason. And it's has a lot to do with like who we are as a people, and like the things that we are able to pull off in this world. It has a lot to do with that stuff. I firmly believe that it does. And it's very Egyptian,
A lot of people don't like that kind of shit, and they are like, leave that crap out of it. But it has a lot to do with Egyptian mysteries and Freemasonry and all of those things that a lot of people really don't understand, and I don't understand them fully either by any means. But that's something too that's being revealed to me more and more, because the Templars, the Knights Templars that created, Freemasonry, like that is my ancestors. That's where my name Temple comes from, Templar. And so like that's something that I've been very drawn to, very tapped into. Like I have no intention of becoming a Freemason and getting into that organization. But I am receiving a lot of different messages and things that are probably a part of that, coming through my ancestral connection.
Yeah.
So it's just something to me that I feel camaraderie with, and so I'm drawn to it, and I'm going to explore it.
My ancestry on both sides of my family. One side of my family came on the Mayflower, and then the other side came to settle New York City in the 1600s. They were, so it's my family runs really deep. Yeah.
That's a really weird place, and like it's a pretty dark place, New York City.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely like entrenched in magic for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, guys, like, honestly, I never was into this, Templar Egyptian shit. Like, it's not my cup of tea. So, I mean, I studied it from the point of history and symbology. And if you look, for example, so here is the thing. I was like asking myself, right? So you have obelisks everywhere. So you have obelisks in the Vatican, you have obelisks in America. Russian tried to acquire some, but it didn't get done, And I was like asking myself, why would somebody spend millions and millions of dollars, billions in money back in the day to like get a giant fucking rock with symbols carved on it across fucking continents to put it somewhere? And then I figured out that ancient Egyptians actually used the obelisks to channel the energies of the sun into a particular place. And if you look at what obelisks are used for, the pharaoh would erect an obelisk. At the bottom of the obelisk, you would have like hieroglyphs commemorating who built it. And then from the bottom to the top of the obelisk, you would have the inscription of the pharaoh, the inscription of the king. So the intention of the obelisk is to immortalize the ruler, right? So you have the verse in the Quran, it says the pharaoh died and the sun and the stars and the earth didn't weep for him. Why do they put that sentence there? Because it was believed in Egypt that after Pharaoh arranges and creates certain structures, that he channels the energy of the stars into those structures, he becomes immortal, and then when he dies, stars, sun, and the earth weep for him. So actually, the purpose of those obelisks, if we want to be honest, is not to venerate the sun, as some people falsely claim, because those are not inscriptions to the sun, those are inscriptions of the pharaohs, right? The purpose of obelisks is to make you venerate the state, to make you worship the state in the same way Egyptians worshipped the gods. You have the cult of the gods, and then you have the cult of the state. The point of obelisks is to make you venerate the state. And that's exactly how those organizations in front of which obelisks are erected works. For Americans, the Constitution has a religious significance. And for Catholic Church, the Pope, who is simply the head of the church, is treated like a god. So it all makes sense. And I think Americans have a really big problem that they replaced country and God with the state. And I think it's a really big problem in American society. and we see where this will go with China, because China did the same thing, and it's not the best place to live.
One of the things that I was shown by Spirit as well in relation to pyramids and obelisk and anything that has a point on it. So let me these. Oops, sorry, buddy. Let me fix this real quick. This guy falls down a lot. This guy's really cool. Let me fix this. There we go. Okay, so these are made by Elena Lemmy at Limitless Liberation, by the way. But like when you have something like this, from what I was shown, is that like this is a calling to God to place his finger upon the point so that his blood will anoint the structure. And so it's a calling for a divine touch. And so that is like one of the things that I was shown, is that like that is the reason why it comes to a point. One of them is because it is a calling for God to do this like that. And when he does that, spiritually speaking, it's anointed with his essence and his blood. Which I know sounds crazy, but I'm a crazy guy. What can I say?
Yeah. So, like, can you tell us more about your Egyptian stuff?
I haven't really gotten too much into it. You know, most of like what I have received so far really just has to do with Yeshua and Mary Magdalene. I'm definitely getting more into, you know, like Mott and like, you know, her like representation of balance and divine feminine energy, and like kind of seeing a correlation there to Mary Magdalene and Lilith and all of that. You know, like it definitely, that resonates with me. You know, so it's something that I'm definitely going to be diving into like pretty heavily here soon. But I don't really have too much to say about it yet, unfortunately.
I just want to check in. Is everyone okay? Are you getting tired, JD?
Oh, okay. I'm good. Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
I have about 30 more minutes. I got my daughter's have a birthday party I have to be at 6, and it's like 4:40 here, so I've got a little bit more time before I need to get things going and head that way.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
So, do you have any like questions, Danny, for the end of the?
Yeah. So even though I don't work with her regularly, and I haven't worked with her for a long time, when I had my Kundalini awakening, Sekhmet was a really big part of that. Like, so when it started, it's pretty violent for me. I was pretty ill. I was vomiting. I was having extreme emotions of anger and grief. And this went on for a few days, and like all of that energy was like building up at the base of my neck.
Mm-hmm.
And while this was going on, I just had this instinct to call Sekhmet, who I'd never worked with before. But I was calling her through this whole thing, and it was a really, really potent experience. And finally, when everything was just like building up, it was so tight. Sekhmet came. She showed me a doorway, and the doorway was just ever so slightly open, and the light behind it was red. So there was like this upside down red cross, and then the doorway opened, and then there was a serpent, and then that was when all that pressure that had been building up at the back of my neck erupted into my crown chakra, and that was also when the earth started shaking, and when it didn't stop shaking for 2 months. And every time I had somewhat of another like additional Kundalini awakening after that. Even when the earth finally stopped shaking, the earth would shake a little bit every time I had a bit of a Kundalini. The earth would shake a little bit. It might just be one jolt, or it might last for about 15 seconds. But you talk about the earth shaking in some of your prophecy and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And you talk about Belial, you talk about Poseidon. So I'm wondering what you think about the relationship. Like, have you ever observed a relationship between like spiritual awakening, Kundalini awakening, and the earth? Like, what is the earth telling you? Like, what's going on with all of that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And like you're hitting it right on the money, because like I do feel that like what we're going through right now with all these earthquakes, like you have as a byproduct of that, a lot of people that are like unable to sleep, unable to eat. They have a lot of anxiety. Their energy is feeling weird. They're having a lot of pain in their back. And I feel that like what's going on, the earth is basically having like a massive Kundalini awakening, if you will, or rising. And that is also happening inside of all of us in a collective way. Even people that don't even know about this shit are having symptoms of this. And I feel that like for a lot of people, their Kundalini is like trapped halfway up. It's like it can't get past that point and get up here where it needs to.
Yeah.
And so with every single earthquake that we're experiencing right now, people are going to be finding relief. They're going to be feeling better. Their energy is moving up their spine even more with every single earthquake that happens. And so when that's finally said and done, you're going to have Kundalini rising and basically on a collective scale. And so we are as above, so below. We are so connected to this earth too. So everything earth is experiencing, we are also experiencing inside of ourselves. And so it's all a reflection. It's all working together.
Yeah.
So like basically with the earthquakes, the earth's energy is moving and shifting and it needs relief. And so the same thing is happening with us. We have energy that's moving. It needs relief. It needs to basically come up through the crown and erupt. And like that is what we're seeing in the world too. And I wouldn't even doubt at the end of all of these earthquakes, if we don't see tsunamis, if we don't see a volcano might even erupt. And that is going to usher in for us a new sense of evolution and a new way of living. You know, people are actually going to be able to tap into that serpent energy inside of them, which is so important, you know, especially with what we do. You know, like coming into union with that serpentine energy that's inside of you, allowing that Kundalini to rise and to raise is like vital. And so if you want to tap into the fullness of your magical capabilities and prowess, you got to let that happen and promote it to happen in any way that you can and to help it along. You know, like I can still feel in myself right now, I had a lot of pain in my lower back and kidney area and stuff, and it's moved up. And closer and closer to this spot right here. And like this area right here, the mouth of God is a vital thing to come into union with, because like in my experience and what I was shown from Lucifer, like that is the point that spirits attach when they possess you. That is where they come in right here, you know, very similar to what you hear about like when a spirit is riding you, like that is really what's happening. They merge with you right there.
Yeah.
What you see in the movie The Matrix, how they're hooked up in the back of their head. It's like that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you were definitely ahead of the game with that. Dimitri, do you have any comments on that?
So, like, what the fuck? My charger seems to be not working. But what I wanted to say is like, you know, with Kundalini, I really think that the chakra system and Kundalini system are one and the same. And as your chakras open, your Kundalini naturally rises to that level. And I think we should be really careful with the Kundalini. It's not safe. It's really dangerous. And once
But
again,
Dimitri, what do you think about how that connects with the earth?
what do I think? So, okay, my opinion will maybe kind of be different, but I think that the seven chakras we usually correspond, seven chakras, root, sacral chakra, solar plexus. Out of the seven chakras, the only one which is actually connected to the earth to some degree is the root one. Actually, there are seven chakras on each leg, which are connected to emotions like hatred, anguish, wrath, etc. And they are corresponding to the earth and the realms of hell. So they are really deeply connected with the earth. And there is a chakra which is located about 3 inches below the feet, which is like a sphere of dark energy. And it's called the core of the earth. And once that center is opened, what is experienced is I can only describe as an enlightening hatred. So you start hating so much that you experience enlightenment and union with the universe through that hatred. And that's kind of what I was taught by those darker spirits. And those are kind of the chakras which are related to the earth in my experience. However, when you open those centers, impulses like pedophilia, psychopathy, enormous rage, they become active in an individual. So working with them is extremely dangerous psychological and spiritual experiment, which can kill you and turn you into criminal if you are not killed. You either become capable of killing others, or you are become capable of killing yourself, and it's one of the most dangerous things you can do. When I did it, I was possessed by extreme hatred for about 3 weeks, and it was last summer when I did it. And during that intense experience, I was visited by the entities which were like reptilian, like humanoid reptilian beings. In Hinduism, they are known as the underworld Nagas. So you have the celestial Nagas, the celestial reptilians, and they are dragons. And then you have the underworld Nagas, which are like lizard people. And when they appear, they emanate the pure hate. And they are actually corresponding to the lowest chakra of the human energy system, which is the chakra of 3 inches below the feet, connected to the darkest impulses of the earth. And that's my experience with that.
So
Also, you can push.
Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead, Danny.
I was just gonna say, I mean, it kind of makes sense what you're saying because you have a incredible resonance and connection and power when it comes to extreme negative energy. It's like it's part of your like divine blueprint, really. So it makes sense that you sort of understand and comprehend the elements around you through that perspective because you're special.
But JD is special too. He was one of the few people in my life capable of healing. I mean, I am sorry when I say that I will always be retarded. I will always be retarded in the area of physical healing. But JD is an expert in that area, so thank you for helping me out, JD, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, I'm not so shabby. I do healings for you.
Yeah, you do too. You are good. You are good.
I make you dry heave, you know.
Can I tell you something funny? Can I tell you something funny, JD? The first time she was healing ritual for me, I was so filled of dark energy that I started to burn, as if somebody is like physically burning me with flames, and it lasted for 20 minutes. And she was like, "What is wrong with you?" And I had difficulties breathing. My eyesight was like starting to blur. she was trying to hold me not to follow. I literally had like a really negative reaction to just basic cleansing. And I remember like I do a ritual and like Danny like I do a ritual and then
Yeah.
he's cooking and I am getting outside of my ritual room and she starts to scream and cry. And I am like, why do you cry? And she's like, I see melting babies around you. And I was like, I know who those are. And she starts to scream and cry and has like a panic attack.
Whoa, God. And see, these are the kind of like extreme things that are like so amazing and so interesting and like profound moments, you know, that like it's so wonderful to be able to like share magical experiences like that with other people, right? Like especially people that you're really close to. Like it's amazing. It's the best. Like nothing beats it. Like even those kind of things that seem to be like crazy and hard are like fucking some of the best shit ever.
I have a proposal. I think that we should do like an odyssey. I think that JD should come to Europe and we should go to like the megaliths.
That would be
and
so, oh my God.
the dolems and shit and like the graves. And we should go to the East Coast. We should do the whole East Coast tour because East Coast woods are haunted as fuck. Like I know that. Yeah. But like, yeah, let's do some geographical.
Dude, I would love to do that. Like, y'all are both welcome here any freaking time, anytime.
Yeah.
Like, y'all can both stay right here if you want to. Like, this place is like totally capable of people staying here. It's got a shower, a bathroom, beds, and everything. Like, you know, so you're always welcome.
Yeah, I mean, fuck yeah, like same. Like we can get a fucking what do you call it? What's a fancy word for like a European place to stay, Dimitri?
Oh, like a hostel thing?
No such a thing.
No, not
you
a
know.
hostel. That's not fancy. Like a fancy.
Oh.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
No.
Don't talk
You
to
know
me.
what it is. You know what it's called. A fancy. I don't know, dude.
Does it have like a fancy French word for it?
We're gonna get a fancy place. Okay, we're gonna get a fancy place in Europe, and we're just gonna be fancy. We're gonna go and do all of the ancient shit and the castles and all that shit.
Oh God, I want to see a castle so bad. Like, holy shit! It's like Sarah wants to do all this too, so we are definitely for that. Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. But like what is really interesting is that I got into contact with those Hindu guys. I Enroll Foundation. You can like check them out, JD. I can send you links, and they have all kinds of interesting Hindu information for really cheap money. And I worked with them for like 3 years, and I filmed a bunch of videos and promoted them, and they gave me like exclusive information and shit. And what they told me is that like there are a bunch of guys in India who practice Hinduism in a way which is completely different than what we are shown. Like what we are shown is really watered down version of what they actually do.
Mm-hmm.
And that entire crowd, which is like Hindus are just about meditation and it's all philosophy, bro, and it's all rational, bro. It's not true. Like when you, I know it. Say, Danny.
I was gonna say that's true with all magic. I mean, you have pseudo-intellectual classes bullshit, and then you have people that do magic, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So, can you tell us something for the end? Because you have to go, JD, and you know you have to pick girls and
Well, I would say that for anybody out there that is having difficulties manifesting things that they want in their life, the best thing that I have found that you can do is to seriously just be grateful for everything that you do have and to like focus on that, to focus on what you do have if you want to have more good things. Don't focus on the negative aspects of the shit that you don't have and how bad this is and bad that is. That's easy, and we do that naturally. Don't do that. Focus on having gratitude for all of the good stuff, and that is really literally what you will manifest and perpetuate in your life. That's true.
Yeah, so we are really glad to have you on the show, JD.
Thank
And
you.
you really made us both happy. And you know, I
Same
think
here.
I kind of improved, because last time I interviewed people last season of the show, I was like unbearable. But I really let guests talk from now on. I really improved, you know? I really improved.
Both of you do. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And I feel so at home, and like, thank you for that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
love you, JD. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I
Love
love
you
you
too.
guys too. Fuck yeah. Awesome. Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Yeah. Bye, guys. Bye. See you next week with some new guests. We will have something badass for you next week, by the way. So
Yeah,
talk
and
to
I'll
you
see
soon.
you again, JD.
Sounds
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Yes.